True, bestie, so true. All right. Hello, if you are seeing this on replay probably or on YouTube, I don't know. But hi, thanks so much for coming and watching. We are talking about paranormal romance, and it's going to be just kind of a chat about anything and everything. I do not have my shit together, so it's gonna be kind of low key. So hopefully it ends up being entertaining, but I know that we're not on YouTube yet, but or at least we're not on my
time.
So
there's the
toast replay. Anyways, it's fine. I don't really want you all to introduce yourselves before anyone can see it, but like
there's somebody.
I already did my intro.
I've got the notification saying it's live, so
yeah, I have it pulled up too.
You guys are seeing it live? Cool.
Yeah, it is up.
Wonderful.
Hi, Stacey.
For me, potentially.
Hi, Tracy.
Cool. All right. So why don't we introduce ourselves, and we can start with Sarah and work our way down.
Okay.
Down around.
Everything's reversed.
Go ahead, let people know like your main platforms, your name and all of that, obviously, and then maybe when you started reading paranormal romance.
Okay. I'm Sarah. My main platform is actually on Instagram, which is the same on my little title down there, but I also have a YouTube. I run a blog, all kinds of things. I started reading paranormal romance probably as a preteen, so it's been a long time because I think I'm a granny in booktube terms. I'm closer to 40 than any other age. So I have been reading paranormal romance since I was a preteen. Yes. So been reading it for a while.
I love that.
Nice. I'm Steph. My channel is The Novelty Corner. I'm mostly on YouTube. I will occasionally turn up on Instagram, but don't bet on any kind of consistency over there. I probably started reading paranormal romance in my teens. I'd be probably hard pressed to remember what I started with. But that was probably roughly when I started reading it. Yeah.
I'm Sharonda. I'm mostly here. I'm also on Instagram, but now mainly a little bit more on Threads. And I started reading paranormal. It's been a very long time. So like really like old school paranormal books, So yeah, I've been reading the genre for a very long time, and it's like it's starting to be my go-to again. So yeah.
Yeah, I do feel like it's a little bit cyclical where I'm like, actually back on paranormal again.
Right.
I read like one. I was not allowed to read it growing up, so I read like one as a teenager that I snuck, but I didn't start reading romance until about 6 years ago now, I guess. And I kind of started with paranormal because I came from fantasy, and I really thought like contemporary was not for me. I was like sure that I would not be interested in contemporary romance, even though I never tried them. So I thought like historical and like fantasy-esque, paranormal-esque, I thought that's what I needed, and I did love it. But so I think a lot of it was kind of my first genre romances, I would say. But so I guess I'm the newbie. I only started like this decade.
I also came over from fantasy, so I get it. I grew up with fantasy, and it's easy to transition from fantasy when you're like, "Ooh, vampires and fairies." Yeah,
right.
I don't know. I just felt like I don't know how much of it was just not having read the genre, having like kind of prejudice against it, and just assuming that if a story was only romance that I would find that boring, or I have always gotten like really bad secondhand embarrassment from like rom-coms and stuff that watching them. So I just thought like it would be the same, and it's really not, at least not for me. So I
understand that.
went more than I thought. So what are your favorite paranormal creatures? You can list literally as many as you want, but what are your favorite paranormals to read?
For me, like just to say from the beginning, I love vampires. I love vampires. That's what I started off reading, because I started reading J.R. Ward's The Black Dagger Brothers. I can't even remember it now, but
The Brotherhood.
The Black Dagger Brotherhood. Yes.
Mhm.
I started reading that, and that kind of like got me like really just going down a rabbit hole into paranormal. And now, right now, shifters are like the best thing that ever happened to me. Like you give me a shifter recommendation and I love it. And if the author has like a whole slew of shifter books, I'll probably go through that author's whole library, because I love shifters. Like I just love like the whole alpha male, and I love like the possessiveness, you know, how they all possessive, and I love it. So
I gotta agree. That's the classics, right? I also started the vampires. I read the Black Dagger Brotherhood, and what's her name? Hamilton, Anita,
Laurel K. Hamilton.
Laurel K. Hamilton. That's it. That those were unfortunately my introduction. And then Charlene Harris. I have vivid memories of standing in Walmart in the book section and being like, "Oh my god!" So yes, vampires are the classic. I also love shifters. Just sign me up every time. I'm partial to fairies, but more of the like romantic-y fairies are fine. I like the grungy ones stuck in, urban settings more. So
yeah, I think I probably would have started with Charlene Harris as well. And that was probably because True Blood came out when I was sort of in my mid-teens. And so I would have read all of those. But because I'm currently rereading the Mary Gentry series by Laurel K. Hamilton, because that was one of the first fairy sort of paranormal urban fantasy kind of series that I read, which they surprisingly hold up. There's little things, but that series actually surprisingly holds up. But yeah, I probably, when I started really getting into paranormal romance as an adult, was through Nalini Singh and her Angel books, so the Guild Hunter series and the Psy Changeling series. So 100% shifters. Like I will always default to those, and I feel like there's some really interesting things I think that you explore with the different kind of personalities of characters that you don't accept in other series, but they're also there's a reason for it. So
yes,
I've gone through Nalini Singh many times.
Love Nalini Singh, so I agree. Her Psy Changeling is my top tier.
100%. What about you, Heather?
You guys are gonna hear like cars all night. I think about it when I scheduled this, so mistakes were made. But I am partial to shifters. I think that they are my favorite, will probably always be my favorite. I actually am wondering if Ilona Anders was like my entry. I remember I got into romance because after my kid was born, I was at the library and I had picked up Sarah J. Maas, having never heard of her. I picked it up based on the cover in the library, and then it was all the fae and it was like really heavy on the romance. And I was like, oh, okay, like I love this. This is so great. I want more of this. And I was reading like a lot of young adult fantasy. Then I was like, okay, well, this is not giving me what I want, so maybe I'll try adult fantasy. But I was just like, I didn't know that the book community existed. Like I didn't know anything about this, so I was just going off like the library shelves and good like Google searches. like that. So I was just reading like random adult fantasies, and I was like, I don't like this. This is not like, everything is worse. Everybody's dying, and we're like, I was just looking for like a good time. And then I ended up transitioning to romance. I was like, okay, this is the adult content that I want. This is what I'm looking for. So I don't know how much of it is because of that, like going straight to Kate and Curran in the Kate Daniels series. But I also I know what it is. I'm glad we brought this up. I like beefy men. Like, I do not like very slender men, which I feel like is the vampire kind of prototype a lot of times. Yeah. And that's just like not my thing. So a lot of times the shifters will be like a little bigger. They're just a little bigger.
Yeah, they're beefier.
They've decided that makes sense. So I think that might be part why. And also, like Sharonda was saying, I love the possessive, jealous, this is my mate, don't go by my mate, all of that stuff.
It only works there.
Give me more. I feel like shifters do that a little more than vampires do.
They do.
Historically.
Yes, they do. Somebody in the chat was saying witches. I did read a lot of witches. I was trying to look up the name of the series. I remember the covers. There was some witchy sisters and stuff. I read a lot of those. And Patricia Briggs. I almost forgot. I read a lot of Patricia Briggs.
Patricia Briggs. Yes.
Yeah.
I read a bunch of that.
Yeah, I love the whole Mercy series. Like, that is like my
Mercy Thompson. Yes.
Yes, I love that whole series. Like, I think that kind of like got me started on like shifters too.
Yes.
In her series, it was just like really, really good.
And Anne Rice, I definitely read Anne Rice, so that counts, I guess.
Yeah. I also read a bunch of Mercy Thompson when I was first finding everything, and I read like a bunch, but I again had never read romance before, so I was like, I just really want more of the relationship in this, and then I never like made my way back to it after finding more romance heavy. Go ahead, Steph.
No, I was gonna say, because I probably only got 3 or 4 books into Mercy Thompson, and then like there's one series that I do want to go back to, which to me felt a little like it's not the same, but it felt similar in tone. But it was one of Kerry Arthur's series that starts with Blood Kissed. And that one's set in Australia, but it's shifters and I think it might be witches. I've got to go back to it. I think I only got a couple into that one as well. I'm like, I'd kind of made the switch at that point. But yeah, it's like paranormal romance is always cyclical with me. I always come in and out of it at different points.
Yeah.
I remember that series. I hadn't thought of that in years.
Yeah. I think I got into it because I met her at a signing over here.
That's cool.
Yeah. And was sort of going, there's actually something that's set in our setting.
In
like,
Australia.
This is awesome. I'll take it. Awesome. But yeah, even with Ilona Andrews, like I had a really slow start with Ilona Andrews because it was recommended to me by a friend who I trust her recommendations implicitly. But I kind of read the first one and then didn't continue on with the Kate Daniels series for a while. And now I just like reread it multiple times a year when I'm feeling stressed.
Heather and I were just talking before the stream about how we both saw that now they're saying, Ilona Andrews, the team, are saying you can skip the first book because they think it's the weakest one and it's not needed for the series. And I was like, oh my God, people seem to like that the least. So
yeah,
I like it.
It's not my favorite in the series, but I wouldn't skip it. I still think it does. I think it does some really good things for setting up that world.
Yeah, I agree. Plus the introduction of the characters to each other and that is so good. There you go. Skip that. What are you all tired of seeing in paranormal romance? Do I know what my answer for this is? No, I don't. So
you could have let one of us answer first. Oh gosh.
So, if it takes you all a minute too, that's fine. If the chat would like to help out, that would be
I was gonna say that maybe.
I know one. I hate when the main character is a human and doesn't know that paranormals exist, and that's the entire conflict of the book. I'm like, I'm picking up a paranormal romance. We all know what we're here for. Why are we pretending like him being a shifter is a problem?
Or they're like, oh yeah, he turned into a wolf, but maybe it was something else. Maybe I just got confused. Maybe I hallucinated everything that just happened, honey.
Yeah, that is annoying because it's like for like most of the book, just they're still trying to convince this person that
right
turn into something. It's like, okay, this should have stopped like maybe 40, 50 pages ago. Like we're deep into this story. If she or he does not believe it now, we need a new romantic partner because like
exactly.
It's just very, very annoying.
Moving on.
Well, you just know that they're the ones that are going to be kidnapped constantly throughout the entire series of books.
What do you mean you don't believe that they're actually after you?
And it's like, why does this keep happening? What is going on here? It's like,
when they leave the safe house because of a fight or whatever, I'm like, you're not gonna die, but realistically, you probably would.
That made me think of one. I can't stand it. We don't need to have sex or relationship talks when there's people chasing you with guns and knives. Like, let's don't do that. I have DNF to put a few books for that. You're sneaking into a house. There's guards everywhere, and you're gonna do it against the wall. I don't think so. No, I'm out. Thank you. I'll pass.
You have supernatural senses, but you didn't notice that you were completely surrounded.
Right.
Like, can we do this later?
Exactly.
Right. Like, let's do this later. Let's get out of this sticky situation, and then we get out
of this situation and into another one.
Right. Yes. A little bit unrealistic there, but okay.
On this, I'm gonna get to this later, I think, but I don't care if they're toxic. Like, if they're not even human, I'm like, we can have different standards. Like, I can understand where you're coming from, your culture, if you will. Like, I am okay with whatever weird thing you're doing because you're not human. And I think it's fun when authors are like really get into, okay, this is not a human, so what is different for them,
right?
Culturally and just instinctually, what really matters to them, like, is a huge affront that doesn't matter to us and is something, and then there's like things that are completely normal for them that to us is just really weird, like really weirding out. But I like when they explore that,
I also think, like, I was going to say, in terms of context, and when something was published, I don't think we don't ever have to excuse something that is toxic, but I think things that were published sort of pre 2010 or even later than that, like there's the societal context around that, and I think you, as a reader, we just keep that in mind as well, and go, okay, well, would we expect to see that in a book now?
Right.
Maybe not. But again, same thing. Like, if they're not human, why would they play by human rules?
But also, like, it does not bother me if it does bother you. I'm not like, well, you should get over it because you are human. You can have whatever standards you want. But it doesn't bother me.
With the genre itself, like, I think that is kind of like expected when you're reading paranormal romance. Like, sometimes that is an expectation for some readers. Like, for me, I'm with Heather. Like, I don't mind it. Like, it's not going to make me be like, shut the book, I think, especially like if you read Paranormal way back when all these kind of like toxic elements were going on in a book, you really don't mind it now, I mean, depending on what it is. Some people take it too far, but it's kind of like, but I think it's kind of like an expectation in the genre. That's what I think.
Which it's also nice. Sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, I will agree. There is a line that that's a line that I don't like to read too much of it, but for the most part, it's fairly expected in this genre, so it's
right.
Kind of take it.
Although it's nice, I know, like, Sharana and I both really like Drea Anderson, and her her heroes, her like paranormal heroes, they are so alpha, but they are constantly so kind and understanding and nice to their loved ones. Like that toxicity just isn't there. So it's nice to see you be like someone who can, I don't know, be anyone if you so choose. You can protect what's yours and all of that, but you also have like a very healthy support system and a very healthy relationship with your family and your mate. Like you're just not, I don't know, you're secure in that and you treat them well. That's nice.
Yeah, that's why she's like my fave, because she's very big on like family. And I always tell people, like when I recommend her books or review her books, I always tell people like, don't go inside her books like expecting like a whole lot of shifting, you know, like kind of like the medium paranormal. Like you're really just going in there for the romance of it all. You know, you're getting these men, they love their women, they love their families, you know, they'll fight to the death. So you're getting like just a really good romance. Like she's just so big on that. It's a shame. I think I've read all of her books. And it's like across all series. She doesn't do just shifters. She does like witches. She's starting to branch off into other paranormal characters and stuff. Yeah. But that's kind of like the theme with her books. Like you're really just going in for a romance. It's really
I need to read more of hers. I've read a few and I've loved all of them. So
it's so good.
Yeah, I've read a few of hers and also really, really love them. So I need to catch up.
I know, like I would just like more authors like her because I'm not going to pressure you to publish more often. You're already publishing frequently, but I am running out. Like,
especially if you kind of like running dry on books to read. But it's good that you can always like go back and reread some books. But then it's like, how many times can I reread this book? You know?
Right, exactly.
And I think that's a good reason. I really like Nalini Singh's shifters because they have a very similar structure. They're very much about their like pack and their family. And what is it? It's not the wolves. It's one of them like lives in those underground caverns together. I know the bears do.
The bears?
Yeah,
the bears.
He was the bears. Maybe was what I'm thinking of. I love that so much.
Yeah,
that's so good.
Yeah, the bear structure in that series was amazing because they do all live together and they all take care of one another. And they all check on each other and they have the big parties in the center space all the time.
I love that. I love it so much. What was it? What the one with the there was the water shifter? They also had a similar structure, didn't they? Yeah,
they did.
I love that so much. Give me the big families and the packs. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. Explore how not human they are. Yes. And I also really dislike this. I really dislike this in any book. I don't care why it is that they come from different societies and cultures, but it just bugs me when you are the main character, the love interest, and you are so close-minded that you can't understand that people do things differently from different areas. I just it annoys me every time. Like, what do you mean you're the main character and you are you're like this? You're so dumb and you deserve to die, but you won't die because you're the main character of a romance. But you're gonna armor your protection because it's just stupid and you don't understand why you have to do it and go out to the woods and try to get Ethan and then have to get rescued and someone gets injured rescuing you all over your own stupidity.
Or you're a mermaid and you sell out your whole race, right, Heather?
Right. What do you mean? We're doing science experiments. Let's not. A heightened sense of smell.
I don't know. I like that about. I mean, it. Okay, maybe like in the context of the story, maybe. Yeah. But I don't know. I kind of like the whole thing of them kind of like sniffing out their mate, like. Right. Like 10 miles away from each other, but she kind of like randomly walks by. He just stops and like, oh snap, that's my mate. Like, I know, So I don't know. I kind of that kind of like gets me with shifters. I mean, even with vampires, I think with vampires that kind of got like goes on with them too. So I don't know.
Yeah. It doesn't bug me either, but I do know that she's also not alone. A lot of people don't like it.
Yeah,
I do.
so
A lot of people don't
get
like
overused. Yeah.
it. It is.
I think if it's done well, and I think certain writers do it better than others, and they incorporate it into the story better than others do.
Yeah.
But like it's kind of part of some of these characters because they do have, like if it was never mentioned, you go, well, you're telling us this, but they're never actually using it.
Yeah.
And it would just be something that's
it's overused information.
How do they know that's their mate? I mean, wouldn't they have to like sniff them out or something like that? So I don't know.
Yeah. I like when there's different ways that they know a mate too. Like I like when you kind of have that explored in your world building and you have a specific bond or tug or instinct or whatever you want to do.
They'll zing when you touch or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and too, like I can understand that you can smell everything, and I don't need like a vivid description of all the disgusting smells that you were able to. I don't. I got it. Actually, we're good.
Thanks. Yeah.
So true. All right. What is a overrated trope?
Not gonna lie, I think vampires are very overrated.
You're right. As much as I love them, yeah.
Yeah, like I think the genre was kind of like fluctuated. It's like every time you turned around, it was like some type of vampire coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had like the whole vampire mixed with the lycan and all that other stuff. But I think vampires are very oversaturated in the genre.
It's very much so, yeah. Yeah, I'll agree.
So it's just
I think it's hard to find really well written ones.
Yes. So, oh my God, yes. Because sometimes I pick up some books and I'm like, oh, okay, let me try this. And then I start reading, I'm like, what the heck was this? This didn't make no sense. Let me put it right on back. So, yeah.
Let's read, love, listen right there with the vampire fall in love with a woman or a witch under 25. No, thank you. Thank you.
Right. What do you mean you're 700 and they're 17 and they're the most fascinating person you've ever met? Okay.
Oh my God.
Really? You have not been doing much with your 700 years.
Yeah, I don't want to see that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, why you got this old dude with this young girl? Like, let's stop that right now.
Yeah, let's stop. Yeah.
I think the problem is half the time the heroines, they're just so immature. It's like
it kills me.
She's screaming halfway through the book. Oh my God. But she just can't like comprehend that this old dusty vampire wants her. Like, oh Jesus Christ. No, let's stop.
Dusty and crusty.
Well, and so on I'll say it when we get to it. Never mind. Carry on.
What are you gonna say?
Well, it's too late now. You have to tell us.
I was gonna say, like, the next point is an underrated trope, and I was gonna say, I really like when you have an immortal and they're gonna live forever, and they can have like a mate live forever too, and everything, but they're like actually 28, like they're a baby. They have just been around barely. They're the beginning of their immortal life.
Yes,
I love
they're
that.
young too.
Yes. Give me more and more of those under 50.
Yeah.
I would like to see more older characters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Or older characters, both characters.
Yeah, both.
Yes.
I think there's like this big thing with ageism, honestly, in it, because a lot of times they'll have them like preserved at their age, right?
Yeah.
And people act like being I mean, if you're preserved at age 60, you're still immortal, so you probably don't have all the aches and pains and
Exactly.
body breakdown of 60.
Right.
So what's wrong with being 60 forever?
It all depends on how you look when you're 60. A lot of 60-year-olds look good,
Right? Silver
Exactly.
foxes. Yeah.
Like
exactly.
So it's weird that we all have to be preserved by the time we're 25, or it's not worth preserving, I think that's
like have you seen some 25-year-olds?
Oh my God.
I don't know. They don't exactly look 25.
Also, I just feel like too, like I'm only 33. I'm not even that far away from 25, but they still look so young.
Yeah,
so young. So how am I going to be 400 and still like, that
Hey, that looks good.
peak physical
400
appeal
underestimated.
Well,
400
like,
underestimated for your entire life because people think you're a baby.
Yeah.
Great.
That sounds great.
Exactly.
That's almost creepy too. I feel like that's a thing where they have like a child preserved as an immortal, so they're like 1,000 years old, but in like a 10-year-old body. I get it. It always creeps me out every single time. I'm like, I hate this.
Freaky kid.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, don't need creepy kids.
I don't know. Like, you are making up a supernatural world. You can have, whatever you want with older people to, again, like making them immortal be worth it. It's fine.
You don't have to like to make them like too old, but I agree with women of color. I would like to see like more older rep, but I think that's just the thing within romance. It's like we always have to default to younger people, which is fine. But like as we get older, like as I got older reading romance, I started intentionally looking for romances with older characters. Like I don't want to read about 25 years old. Like I just don't want to do it because sometimes they're very frustrating to read. It's like, oh my God, like why are you so damn stupid? Like this don't make no sense, So it would be nice, but
I just love smart characters. Like I don't care if they're too smart. Give them to me too smart. I am actually completely fine with not being annoyed with how badly they're handling everything.
I was going to say, like, an offshoot of your that, Heather, is, there's nothing wrong with saying that, okay, yes, they can be made immortal with their partner, but maybe they age up to a certain point because so many, like, they might age to a point and then that's when they stop, which I think happens probably maybe more with the Fae side of stuff. But there's nothing to say that doesn't exist. Like yourself, you get to maturity and then you stop.
Yeah. Someone said
that would mean survival.
Does it really, really good too. I think she has like a series with older vampires. So yeah.
Who did you say?
Lindsay Sands. It was in the
it's right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
She has a series with like older vampires. It's a very good series. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I have read some of those. Those are good.
So yeah.
I don't know. I just like it. Do whatever you want.
Say you like it.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite tropes of all, and I think it works really well with paranormal romance, is morality chain. And you just don't get enough, or again, really well written morality chains where you just don't lose it halfway through the story.
Yeah.
Like when they commit, like that's great because it fits so well with the character types in the
thing that I hate for morality chain though, and I don't really feel like it is a good representation of morality chain, but I do think it's something that happens a lot, is when I literally just enough to book doing this like yesterday or the day before, but you have an immortal killer, okay? They've killed people the entire time. You knew this about them. This is part of why you found them in the first place, right? And then you're like, I'm actually morally opposed to killing people. Let's stop. Like, what do you mean? They're trying to kill you. Can we not kill them back? Like, or like that's a huge conflict. They're like, you broke your word and you killed someone.
Well, see, okay. I did a whole video on Heart of Obsidian by Nalini Singh, and I got a comment a couple of weeks ago saying, well, I didn't like it, basically because Caleb was Caleb, and Caleb is not supposed to change. The entire way through this, we knew he was not going to change. That was the whole point of his character.
Right.
None of us want him to change because he will burn down the world, and that is the entire point of the story.
And also, I find it very annoying when, because it's the love interest and not the main character, it's okay to want to change everything about who they are to make them worthy of you loving them, when that's just not what love is. I mean, not that you have to accept like abuse or anything like that, but at the same time, like you cannot change the very like substance of a person and call it because they loved you. I don't know.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes, like Caleb, like we were saying, exactly.
Yeah.
I also
cinnamon roll. He's devoted to Mrs. Hara. Yeah, he's devoted to her, but he'll still destroy the world, and that's who he is.
No, I'm okay with that. Like,
same. Totally fine.
I did see something though on Twitter just a couple of days ago that I thought was pretty interesting. It said about morally. That was not the button I wanted to click. Ignore that. Morally gray. How we always have it as they're really bad guys, but then secretly they're not that bad. Whereas morally gray can also be they're supposed to be like really upstanding citizens, you know, and they're actually not. I think the thing is they always want that like juxtaposition of they're a good partner, but maybe a bad person. But I think that you can do that without them. I don't know. Like, I don't mind a person who has like their own code of ethics and their own morals, and they don't really care how that lines up with societal expectations, you know? Like they are not going to betray their own values ever, but your values are not necessarily theirs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like a really good bad guy. Like if you're gonna write them to be a bad guy, I feel like
they need to be bad.
Be bad throughout this whole story. Like I don't want to see a guy change or a woman character change because their partner is kind of like have like these red rose glasses on. Like, no, he was a killer when you first met him. Let him be a killer to the end. You know what I'm saying? Like,
clean the blood out of his clothes when he comes home. Yes. Or go with him and get just
go with him something, you know. Like I like that. Like I don't want to see any characters change. But I think that
more often than not, we've probably picked up the book because that was the description of the character that we were given.
Exactly.
Right. And then the character changes, and then you're kind of like disappointed at the end of the story. So it's kind of like, oh well.
It kind of feels stale too because that's so done. So done.
Yeah. I think that's another oversaturated thing, like having them, you know, that character change because they met a character that, you know, like Heather said, that doesn't necessarily align with what they were when they met him. Like, if he was like a bloodthirsty vampire, why can't he continue to be a bloodthirsty? He's a vampire. That's what he's supposed to be doing, you know? Like,
speaking of that, the good vampires only drink synthetic blood thing. What is up with that?
That is so corny.
Oh my god. It's such an easy out. It's such an easy out. I'm like, oh my god.
Like I get it, but it's kind of like you're kind of like starving the character for what, you know. It's not, like I know a lot of people have issues with blood and all of that, and that's fine, but it's like,
but they're a vampire.
They're a vampire.
It's a vampire. That's what they're supposed to do, you know? Like, I think I read a series like that. And it was like the whole family sat at the dinner table. It was a series by Nicole Whitfield, and it was a family of brothers. It was two brothers and a sister. And the family sat around a table and they were drinking synthetic blood. And I was like, throw a dead body on the table.
Right.
You cocktail glasses drinking synthetic blood. I was so upset. I was like, oh, this is so tragic.
Like, I'm sorry. In this economy, you can't pay anyone to produce blood.
I am sure you can pay somebody to just be like, here.
Like, you're rich.
Billionaire. Let's pay people what they're worth.
This is $20.
Like, we couldn't go get like synthetic blood. I was just like, oh my god. I was just like,
right.
And half the time they
I like the world
when they choose to, you know?
It's
like $10,000. I'm there. Lay me out. Have the thing.
They're like fighting themselves. like fighting their nature. Like once they're turned, they're like they're trying everything within them not to drink like actual blood. It's just like, okay,
Right.
but you had this character turn. That's
Right.
what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
I'm
That's
not even
another
like
thing.
arguing the point of them like fighting who they're transitioning into. Because I just
Right.
finished a book like that today, but it also had like religious elements. But she kind of like started leaning into her monster. So I was like, yes. Like she started not having a problem with it. Like she killed one person by accident. It was like, oh, killing everybody now, So yeah.
Yeah. Also, like I can understand, I guess, a little bit going from a human to a paranormal and having like a brief little transition period where you're like, this is weird, or I'm not sure that this is okay, or whatever. But don't make it your whole book. Please don't make it your whole book. I don't like it.
No. I don't want to see that for like 60% of the book. This person is struggling with their transition. It's like, we're already here. Let's start leaning into like, we're here.
Just adapt.
Let's go. Let's move the story forward, because it kind of like stalls the story. It makes the story stale, and it kind of like takes readers out of it, because it's just like, okay, what are they going to do here? We can't spend like a majority of the book with this person fighting what you wrote that they're going to become. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's just like, oh.
No, I agree.
I
I almost feel like it's unimaginative. They were like, I need a conflict. What if they struggle with being a vampire? And
I don't even mind that. I want them to struggle with that, because I think that's part of them turning into whatever they are, especially if it's so hard for them to believe that these things exist, and now you have to be one. So I don't mind that, but I don't want to be like 60% into a story. You still fighting it. It's like now, come on, like, let's do something.
But also, why is it always the same struggle with being a vampire? That's it. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like there's more to explore there, and you just took the first thing that popped into your head.
Yeah.
The existential crisis, you'll never die. Right. Someone's going to come after you and try and kill you. Like there are plenty of options to explore.
There's lots of choices.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, exactly. There is more to them.
There is more to be. It should be, but
having to stay on top of all of the generational changes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes, this. So I love it when we get vampires from other cultures besides just the Dracula flavor. Like the oh my gosh, there's so many good ones, but we just always get Dracula.
There are so many.
People would have to do research.
Yeah. Heaven forbid we have to pop a Google and actually read something.
That's going to be a struggle, because a lot of people just want to write. They don't want to do no research.
But also, like, if you're going to write this subgenre, shouldn't it be because you like this subgenre and you like, literally what we're talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Just
that would be nice.
I think that's another thing that I like about Alona Anders. There's a couple things that I've thought of. One is when they do have like a powerful or a character that kills people or is morally gray or whatever, they always match them up with someone who not only accepts that, but is like their equal on that level, on that thing. Definitely in the Kate Daniels series, but also Hidden Legacy. And also, if you just want a novella, Fated Blades is really like this, because they were both married to other people, and those people like did not know that side of them really, even though they knew they didn't. And then they're the same. They're exactly the same. And it's like, oh, this is what it's like when you have someone who accepts all of you. And then the other thing is, no matter what paranormal thing they're using, they do a unique spin on it. They source mythology and stuff from around the world, especially in Kate Daniels, because in the Kate Daniels world, belief shapes magic. So if you have a group of people who believe in one deity or one particular, like even Sasquatch, if you have enough people that believe in Sasquatch, it becomes a thing, even if it wasn't always a thing. I find that very interesting because they are exploring outside of their own lived experience, their own culture, but they're doing it in ways that doesn't feel like appropriation or, why are you writing an entire series based in something that just isn't yours pen, but it's just, they come across so many different creatures and deities and so many different people that have all of these beliefs, and those beliefs shape magic. It makes sense that they would run into many different things.
I want to add on to that. The other thing that they do really well is there's a couple of times where people's belief but doesn't match their actual understanding, and so it causes problems because their belief is in something that is not what they thought it was, and it causes problems for them. It causes chaos.
Yeah.
And so if you are not willing to do the research and you're not willing to look into it properly, you could be worshipping the wrong person who's going to turn around and kill you.
Right. Which is true in general, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I never read those.
Okay.
What are
good.
paranormal buzzwords that really either you could not care less about and you're not going to click, or will get you every single time? I, in a very basic way, I will read Fated Mates like all day, every day. I will, but I also, I also really like. Well, I like diverse paranormals. Honestly, I think that, I don't know, if you say that they're queer, if you say that they're BIPOC, or that it's based on some mythology that's not just vampires or shifters, or whatever. Like, honestly, if you do any of those things, I'm at least clicking and checking it out. I'm immediately intrigued. But I also just really, really like when the main character is competent.
Yes. I was going to say that.
She said competent.
When they can stay alive on their own. That's cool.
Are you coming across, Heather? My gosh.
Just like,
that is a big thing for you. What are you coming across?
I'm sure.
When I end the book, and I believe with my entire being that the only reason you survived the book is because the author wanted you to, that's not what I wanted. I can stay alive if the author wants me to. I'm looking for something better.
Plot armor can do amazing things.
Like, I don't know. I want cool powers. Give my main character some cool powers.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I like a good serious paranormal romance, but I also like one that's just really campy and fun. And it doesn't have to be the best written thing out there, but if it's fun and you can just read the entire thing, the entire series in one go, like that's fun.
Yes. I was going to say competency. What is it? Nora Roberts is like known for her competency porn is what I think. I love when it's like a detective, or she's already a witch, or she's already a vampire, or whoever. Yeah. I'll probably try it then, because I can't stand it if they're new to it. Yeah.
See, I need to read Sylvia Moreno Garcia's vampire one, because I read a short story by her. First thing I read by her, and it was really great. I'm like, I need to read that one, because it's
that was such a good book.
I so want to read that. It's been on my TBR for ages.
Yeah,
I read it when it first came out. It was so good, because it's like the vampires just all set in Mexico. It's just really good. She did a really good job with that book.
She does a good job with almost all her stuff.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. Her stuff is all really good.
There's not much romance in that, though, right? Is that the correct expectation?
No, there's not much. No.
No, it's much more of an urban fantasy, like
Mhm.
fantasy, I would say.
Mhm.
It's okay. I'll
Yeah,
take
there's
it.
no romance going on up in there at all.
It's important to know what to expect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think, I like an author to lean into the genre. Use it to your
Honestly,
advantage.
just
Yes.
like literally every country has paranormal, beliefs. They have their legends and stuff.
Mhm.
I like when authors write about their own, what they grew up with. That's cool. Paranormals.
I would like to see like more paranormals with different type of paranormals, or with like, I don't know. Sometimes I kind of get sick of the whole, paranormal and human parent. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah, I like when you have two different paranormals, even
Mhm.
whether they're the same or they're from completely different species. I don't really care. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it better, to be honest.
And like
if you
Julie's
can,
The Vampire Queen.
I like a
If
witch
you
and
could-
shifter, a good witch and shifter series.
Mhm.
You got me.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like that.
I like mermaid. I started liking more mermaids too. Like I like mermaids. If the story is done really, really well, I like it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like hard to find those, and the story is good. So
Yeah.
a couple of them I came across, I was just like, okay, well,
Yeah.
American folklore. Yes, I would like to see more American folklore and urban myths. You see a lot of that like popping up in YA stuff recently, but I'd like to see it more in the paranormal romance scene. That would be amazing.
You see it some in like weird paranormal romance, where they're doing it as a gag almost. It's not taking itself too seriously.
yeah.
But I'd rather have something good.
I did read
Underwater mermaid paranormal.
Yeah.
interesting.
Did you guys ever read To Kill a Kingdom? It's a YA Little Mermaid retelling. In that, she ends up with the prince and everything, but there is a shark shifter that's like a bad guy that is supposed to be her arranged marriage type thing. But I'm like, that would be a great
That would be great.
They literally don't have to come out of the ocean.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I
Kill a Kingdom.
could be seduced.
Alicia McCoy, she has like an underwater mermaid series, and it's romance, but it's really good. It's they're black mermaids, but it's good. And she leans into like the whole different colors with the different tails. Like sometimes their hair match their tail. It was really good.
Who did you say that was? I'm putting that on.
Her first name is Alicia, and the last name is McCoy.
I feel like I've read something by her.
Yeah. She does like different series. She does like different paranormals now, but I caught onto her books with that. I think it's like her first series. It's the Mermaid series. It's pretty good. The first book I liked. The second book I like. I think she has 3-4 books in it. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would also like Angels Done Right.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
I would like them to be scary and dangerous, because angels are scary and dangerous, please.
Yes, please. Oh, I was going to mention one, but then I remember the author. Never mind.
That's what I want.
One I ever read was Nalani Singh's. That is the only one I've read so far. I haven't read any other ones.
Yeah.
I've read a couple, and they were okay. Like they were fine, but they're not ones that, I'm screaming on the rooftops about. One was by Milana Jax, and one was by Lexi Foss, maybe?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, Lexi Foss, I think, had one.
The first one is The Perfect Waters, Amber. I just pulled it up.
Okay.
Dun, 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 dun. Perfect Waters. Good job, everyone. Crowdsourcing.
Team
No,
effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
And I also like it when they lean into the demons as well. Like
Yeah.
I don't. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I like a cozy demon. I
Yeah.
do. But why are they all cozy? Why are they all just little cinnamon rolls?
Well, S.J. Stewart just did a book with a demon, and it wasn't cozy. It was kind of like campy, a little bit funny, but it was really good. What was the name of that dang on book? I just read it. I did an ARC for her actually, but now I can't remember. Oh,
Was it the succubus?
no, it was where the lady, like her and her friends get drunk one night and they summon her. They try to summon her husband, but they ended up summoning a demon. It was
Oh, that's fun.
Jesus. Let me see if I can find it, but that has a demon in it, and he was just over all of them. It was just like it's a lot going on in that book.
A summoned husband, maybe?
Yes, a summoned husband.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was pretty good. I actually just read that. I actually like that. So yeah, he's not like scary, but you know, he don't like humans. You know, he's sick of everybody. So yeah.
Wouldn't we all be? You know,
Yeah.
multiple generations.
Yeah, it was good. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think she does good paranormal sometimes. It was really good.
I did like the Demons and Sorcery of Thorns.
I have that on my shelf. I need to read that one. So Katie Robert is hit or miss for me, but her demon in The Demon's Bargain, I liked them a lot. I liked them a lot.
I think that was the best book of that series. The Demon.
Yes, I agree. That was the best book in that series. I haven't read all of them, but of the 3 or 4 that I read, that was the best one.
Yeah, I was a bit hit or miss with that series, but that was my favorite.
Yeah, she's generally hit or miss with me, but I really did like The Demon's Bargain. That was fun.
Yeah. Same. Not that I've read that one, but same. Speaking of, what are your go-to paranormal authors? Which I should have given you all a heads up on this, but obviously I'm going to say Alana Andrews.
Obviously.
I'm going to say Drea Anderson, honestly, because I'm reading everything. Every time she releases a book, I read it and I give it 5 stars.
Yeah, Drea Anderson is my go-to. Right about now, Drea Anderson is my go-to.
Whenever Christina C. Jones drops a paranormal romance, I will read it.
With her.
Yeah, Christina, yeah.
They're not my favorite of her books, but I do still enjoy them.
Yeah.
Alana Andrews is definitely. I like Lillian Lark.
Yeah, Lillian Lark is good.
I like Lillian Lark. I think that's why the Deals with the Demon series didn't quite work for me, because I liked Lillian's take on a lot of those better.
She's really good at leaning right into it, but she does it so well.
I think so.
And she just the things that she incorporates, the stories just feel a little bit more fleshed out.
Yeah, they do. There's a little bit more depth to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy Lillian Lark.
Okay. Yeah, Nalini Singh.
Yes. Nalini Singh is up there too.
I really like Kate C. Wells' Rejected Mate series, even though I don't like that trope.
Yeah.
I still really like that series.
Well, again, it's just done so well. Because that one can go really badly and cannot work.
Right.
I
don't know. Have I ever read another paranormal romance? Not according to Goodreads. So, get your act together.
I'm trying to think who else I had down on my list.
Okay, I haven't read any of her books in a hot minute, but I devoured Kim Harrison back in the day. Start the Hollows series. I read almost all of those, if not all of those. I haven't read them in a hot minute though, so I don't know how they're doing now. She's writing them again.
That's wild.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, Chase Verity.
If you
yes, Chase Verity's pretty good.
Not really writing anymore though, which makes me sad, but I do really love their books. or at least I haven't seen anything from them in quite a while.
She has like a whole demon series, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those were, I feel like, I mean, I could be wrong, but they were certainly my first cozy demons. I think that they were like way ahead of that trend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good books.
I feel like a lot of the ones I used to read, I don't really read anymore. So I'm like,
yeah.
Who do I have? Nobody.
Or in my case, they lean a little more fantasy. Like I love, I just blanked. Oh my God, S.T. Gibson, but she's more just traditional fantasy. But her books almost always have a romance in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
need to read more by this author, but I trust her implicitly. Beck McMaster.
You've talked about her.
Yeah. You can like her paranormal tends to be historical paranormal or steampunk paranormal romance.
Yeah.
But I've read one or two and I've enjoyed them, and I have a few more to read. So she seems to be fairly consistent.
Also, if you haven't read Gail Carson Levine yet, that's not the person. That's not the right. That's wrong. Wrong. Who am I thinking of? Who's the author of Soulless?
Gail Carriger.
Gail
Carriger. Yeah.
That Gail. If you haven't read her yet, Gail Carson Levine too. I mean, if you want YA fantasy retellings, but that's not what this is. Gail Carriger, the Soulless series is great. It's immaculate.
A cozy sort of paranormal series, if you like audiobooks, is the Molly Harper Audible original series. It's Mystic Bayou.
That lady. That name sounds familiar. Molly Harper.
They're super cozy, and she has so many different types of paranormal. So you have selkies and tree nymphs and all that sort. And they're all in this town, and the town has kind of been a secret, and so someone's come in to study how the town functions. Okay. But you can get them as ebooks, but they're also on Audible.
I was going to say they are on ebook. I'm going to get a sample for that.
Yeah,
I know there's one book I need to recommend on here, and it's A Bite Full of Death by S.J. Stewart.
I saw that one just a second ago.
Kind of like he's a Frankenstein type monster, and she is she's a succubus. What is the woman? Succubus?
She's half succubus, half reaper, according to this.
Yes, half succubus, half. This is so good. Like, oh my God. Y'all need to read this. Like,
really that's going to the. I was about to say that just went to the Kindle. Thank you.
Straight to the top of this.
Yep, really good. Yeah, that was like one of my top reads last year. So that's how I kind of discovered her and her books.
I had scheduled for September, I think maybe, a new paranormal romance rec video, and now I'm like, I actually don't know that I have any since my last one. Like,
you need to do some reading, Heather.
Right? Maybe not.
Do some research.
Definitely also Avita Vice. I do really like their paranormal.
I like Avita Vice.
Yes.
Yeah. But also, I know it's very popular, but The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana is so good. The hype is so deserved. I went into that expecting to have a good time and had an amazing time. It is so cute and sweet, and there's actual plot and there's actual dialogue, and I had high expectations and they were blown out of the water. So
I was so ready to be the person that didn't love that book, because I'm like, everyone loves it. I'm going to be the one person who hates it, and everyone's going to hate me. And I loved it.
Exactly. It really is. It's one of those things. I know I say this all the time, but it's one of those things where it does what it's trying to do so incredibly well. The execution is genuinely top tier. So if you're going into it based on what it is, looking for a good version of that, it's a great version of it. So you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
You know?
The other one I have is, and this is my off the wall rec. If you just want off the wall characters, you can go, what are you even doing? Is Mathematics' Relic series with dinosaur shifters.
Yeah. I've read a few of those.
I still have
They're just fun.
Yes, that's the best way to put it.
I have not.
I was trying to look back and see what I had, but
if y'all still have recs, feel free to get them. But on that note, for paranormal romance specifically, where do you fall on indie versus traditional? Because traditional is having another wave of paranormals, but I love indie paranormal romance so much more. I feel like.
Well, there's just so many more choices in indie.
Yeah, it's true. So much more. I'm a big fan of indie romance in general, but I think indie gives you a lot more options. You know, sometimes you don't have that safety net. You know, when you go inside of the story, you know, sometimes you're gonna go inside of the story and be like, oh, okay, totally was not expecting that. But yeah, I'm a big fan of indie. Like,
yes,
I'm just
indie.
Yeah.
You're gonna go all in. You're gonna find all types of stuff. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. I'm more likely to give a shot on a new indie author than I am to a new traditionally published author. Like I've got my go-to traditionally published paranormal romance authors, but I don't tend to sort of stray from them unless I've read them, unless they've been picked up from an indie publication.
Yeah. I definitely lean towards the indie as well. I read a lot of front list. Like, I read a lot through NetGalley, but if I see something indie, I'm going to go indie before I go traditional. For sure.
Yeah. On that note, Opal Rain, too. If you all have read their books, they're like that skull demon type thing with like the fancy peen.
Yeah.
That's just another thing.
The Dustwalkers?
Cool. Yeah.
Dustwalkers, yeah. They're amazing.
If you look at another demon type book, there's Sweet Vengeance by I think her name is Viano. Ohima. I think that's how you say her last name. It's a very good book.
I just thought of one that I read during last month, which I mentally blanked on because trauma. Where did I put it? The Given to the Ghoul by Desiree M. Nicole.
Yeah.
That was really good as a ghoul romance.
Ghoul romance?
Yeah.
And it was like a little bit weird. Like
it's a little bit weird. It's a novella. It's kind of got the same premise as A Soul to Keep by Opal Rain in that the village is exiling someone for the monster in but it's a novella length, and it would I would love more in that one.
Well, you sold me right there, novella.
I was about to say
exactly.
Yeah,
I like that.
It was so good. That was probably one of the best books I read that month.
Cool. Okay.
Also, that wasn't a reread.
Also, their book Follow Me to the Yew Tree is another paranormal, but it's and it's
Robin has talked about that.
It's got some really good chronic illness rep in it that, again, like, you're becoming immortal, but you are able to play with, what does that mean? What does that mean if you already have a health condition and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Because you're making up the rules for your world. You can decide what that means, and I liked what they did with it.
Yeah. Nice.
Also, Iris Foxglove is a queer author duo that they also have some really interesting paranormal mashups. And although they're not that paranormal, though, really, like they're kind of paranormal light. I feel like you are getting a witch or you are getting a shifter, but like, I don't know. It's not a huge part of it. I would say a bigger part of it is that everyone is submissive or dominant, like, and you just know what everyone is. Like, it's part of the world building, and that factors into their society and their relationships as well as their sex life, you know.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. Almost on here, but part of why this live happened, a big part of why this live happened, is for the Amazing Readathon in the Team Romance chat, they were talking about paranormal romance, and they were talking specifically about how, like, with shifters, they would definitely still have sex when they're in their animal forms, but, like, you know, we kind of pretend like they don't or whatever. And I was like, I like when they acknowledge that, but, like, I don't actually want to see it personally. That's I can do Fade to Black on that. Actually, we can just go back.
Right.
It happened. But what are some things that you would, like, acknowledge in your paranormal romance? Maybe not necessarily explicitly on page, but you just feel like it makes sense. Like, if you were a wolf shifter or whatever, it makes sense that this would be a part of your life. And it's weird that we skip over it, even if it's not something you explicitly want on page.
I did read a urban paranormal romance where the male love interest was in wolf form most of the time, and if I never read the phrase "he wagged his tail," I would be happy. Have I never read that again? No, thank you. Absolutely not. I was good, thanks.
That is so funny.
I wish I could tell. It was bad. It was very cute outside of his tail.
There was this one alien romance I read where the alien had multiple forms, right? Which I'm fine with. But so they had, like, a humanoid form, like a not super humanoid, but a humanoid form, a, like, transitional warrior form, if you will, and then, like, an animal form. And part of the mating bond was they had to have sex in all three forms. But she didn't shift at all. She was just a human. I was like, actually, this is too weird for me. It's a line too far. I'm not ready. I don't like it.
Heather found her line.
I actually have so many lines. It's wild.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Ooh, that's different.
So I think my thing is, if you're going to have where that's an important part of it, then you need to have everybody be shifters. Like,
yeah.
I need you to do that.
Poor woman.
It's like, what are we doing?
I can just see you. Just,
Oh man, I was.
That is quite all right. We'll pass.
Yeah, no, thank you.
He grounded his BC.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
On that note,
It's like, what do you? What?
Go ahead.
And I'm such a crazy reader because I feel like if you say that, I'm trying to figure out, like, what does that sound like?
Like, what exactly? What does it sound like when he growls?
Like, is he growling her name? And like it's just very.
Suzanne Wright's Burn series is Demons, which book 5, which is about a different couple. I really did not like the trauma on that, and I completely stopped reading her at that point. But the books up to that, the first 4 books are about the original couple. I really, really liked. And one of the things was they are demons, but they are dual entity. So sometimes the demon would, like, come to the front and, like, take control.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then, but they were both demons, you know. But then they also had their human sides, and they were, like, literally side by side. And so it was really interesting when, like jealousy or something would have, like, the demon coming in the front and being like, yeah, no, no, actually, you belong to me and stuff. Like, that was very, very interesting how you had both represented, and, like, you never kind of knew when they would pop out or what their reaction would be. And I think that is if you're going to talk about how, you know, the dragon was pulling at the leash or whatever, I think that it's weird when you have like shifters and stuff, they're dual entity, but you really only have one
Voice, maybe.
awareness almost, you know?
Mhm.
Like your POV is still from the human in the back of the brain of the wolf or whatever, you know what I'm talking about? Like I'm sure you
Yeah.
get that. So
So
I liked how it was both. You got both.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing Drea Anderson does well too, because it's like you're getting both kind of like the man, and then he always talks about how his wolf, you know,
mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
like, so you get that a lot with her too. But that's
I think Lillian Lark does that as well to some.
She does, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like
That makes me think of TJ Kloon's the Green Creek series. Their wolves are kind of like that, and I think he does a good job with it.
Yeah, he does.
So there's that.
Yeah.
I also like when the paranormal part has a little bit of a different personality, you know, like it's not just, I don't know. I think that it can be done really well. It's okay if like you're not really doing that, but when it is such a part of the story, it always sticks out to me.
Mm.
Was it
look,
Julia Cross?
Yeah, Julia. I was going to say Julia Cross. Not everyone loved it, but in the first book,
In the first book, his
the
wolf was
wolf talking to him.
Yeah, he had a lot of attitude.
He just had a lot of attitude, and in part because he's been stuck inside and hasn't been able to shift
Yeah,
for
he hadn't been able
however
out.
long. And it,
Yeah.
like whether you enjoy it or not, like that kind of idea to play with,
was
I think
different.
is different, and I
Right.
think
Yeah.
can be fun when you do it well.
I DNF'd that because I found it annoying, but not because it was the wolf. It was just like what the wolf was saying. I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
all
That's
right,
fair.
well,
that's fair.
how long
I
are we
think
making this for?
I only read the first one, so I can't attest to the rest of it, but I can understand that.
Yeah.
We kind of lost the plot by the last book.
That's what I heard.
Unsurprisingly.
Her new book has a very cool cover.
Yeah,
Showed it to me.
she's got some really cool covers.
Yeah.
All right. This is our last point that I have pre-written down. So you are not alone. A lot of people thought the wolf was funny. Just
I did, but it doesn't take a lot to amuse me sometimes.
Fair.
What
Same.
are tropes that are so much better in paranormal? We kind of already talked about this with Jealous and Possessive.
Yeah.
But I just think there's a lot of things that I'm like, you are, again, just literally not human. I believe this about you. Like, this is just how you are. Okay. Like, all right, great. Whereas when it's just like a contemporary romance or whatever, I'm like, you are a douchebag. I hate you. Like, someone needs to teach you a lesson. I just feel like in the relationship dynamics, I can really appreciate more when it's a paranormal.
Right.
Well, what's the contemporary version of Fated Mates? Because Fated Mates works 100%. Soulmates or
Soulmates.
yeah. Even to an extent, Insta Love would probably be
Yeah.
And
But
I
it works so
I
much
don't
better.
like Insta Love. Yeah.
No,
It
but
works much better.
But Fated Mates works so much better.
It does. It really does.
Also, I feel my biggest thing with Fated Mates is always, I really like when you like automatically know and you work so well for each other, and also you still are watching each other get to know each other. This is another thing that Drea Anderson does so well, right? Sometimes one of the mates will be a little bit reluctant for one reason or another, but they're never like actively fighting or like rejecting or any of that. But at the same time, even when they instantly know, you're still going to see conversations and dates and wooing and, you know, just I really like that instant connection. And then we literally watch them build on it, you know.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I kind of like Insta Love in paranormal romance because they're fated mates. It kind of they don't have to go through that whole like hoopla, you know, of like trying like
There's a reason.
Right, you know,
There's
it's
a
just
reason,
like okay, let's cut this jazz. We know we belong together. You know what I mean? So I kind of like insta love.
Yeah, I like it in paranormal, but hit me with that in a contemporary, and I'm gonna be very suspect.
I think it depends on like the contemporary, like what's going on with the story. You know,
that's fair.
Because it's
and how long the story is.
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work, and then sometimes it's kind of like, you know what, this is okay. I'm not mad at it.
The thing that I don't like with insta love is when they've known each other for a day and they're saying "I love you."
Oh, that irks me.
But I don't mind, like, if you just meet and you're like instantly attracted to each other and getting to know each other, and you just keep getting to know each other, and you just never stop. Like, there doesn't have to be some sort of big delay or conflict for me. I'm literally okay if you just like each other the whole time.
Yeah, I would prefer that.
I'm all right with that.
I do think enemies to lovers works better in paranormal.
Yeah,
it does.
It does.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, I don't like it in contemporary because they be fighting too much. I'm like, all right, bye.
It's too much drama.
I mean, half the time in contemporary, it's not even enemies. It's just it's hate to love or antagonistic.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is true. It does.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know.
Billionaire romances make me mad because they always write the woman character where it's like, why am I turning down a credit card?
Right.
I'm not doing that.
No, give it to me.
Give it to me.
Give it.
And I'm going to start spending it now.
Yes, thank you.
I hate it.
Oh, I could go to the store now? Okay. Like,
bye.
I mean, like, nothing's wrong with a strong, independent woman. Nothing at all. But who is turning down a black Amex card? Nobody.
In this
strong, independent woman would take it and run with it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
They know their worth.
Yes. It annoys me the most when it's painted as like a moral virtue.
Yes.
Oh my God, yeah.
Not up for sale.
He's like super rich and she just crawled out of the gutter or something like that. Like, Jesus Christ. Like,
you can actually like enjoy their money and like them as a person. We could do both.
We could.
There is a possibility.
Circling back to the things we wish we didn't see as much of in paranormal, the whole big deal about the virgin heroine in paranormal. Like it leads to all those things. Just we can move past that. We're past that now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you're going to do that, you should absolutely have them both be virgins.
I was about to say,
if that's important to your faith and mate connection, then he's not sleeping with anybody else either.
Yeah. He needs to be a virgin too.
Yep. And he has like tons of experience, and she's just like, oh my God.
No.
What is that?
That's one of my favorite things about the Side Changeling series is that all of the high.
Yeah.
Because the male character will be like, oh, I've been with so many women, but it's like, oh my, okay, all right.
Great. It happened for you.
Yeah. Have you been tested lately? Thank you.
Right. Like exactly how many women are we talking about here? Yeah. I have to go, like
Also, on that note, I was just reading this too, where it was like they didn't have condoms, so they just had sex without condoms. I'm like, you are the author. You can have a condom in the nightstand. It doesn't have
You're making a choice.
Nothing about this was important. We could have just put a condom on. Like
that would be another thing I would like to see more in paranormal romance. I don't think we see that a lot in paranormal romance at all.
Right.
That's fair. Yeah.
I have seen it addressed sometimes, and I like when they either talk about how they can't get pregnant with anyone outside their fated mate, or like their body automatically doesn't do sexually transmitted diseases or doesn't do, diseases. I think it's important to acknowledge that STDs are just another medical condition. It's not like particularly dirty or shameful or a moral
Right.
failing that you got sick this way and not this way. Like, that's garbage. So I don't mind if you're talking about how like vampires can't get sick or whatever,
Right.
and you literally have that conversation before having sex. That's fine, but I do like when it's acknowledged in one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's because it's only one sentence in your world building. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to go on and on about it. Just mention.
I mean, especially if you're pairing, like, you know, this paranormal with a human. Like, what if that human was sick or came out of a relationship where somebody gave them a, you know, a sexually transmitted disease? Like, there should be like some type of conversation on page. It never is. So it's just very weird, you know.
I just read in June, after the Shut Up Ring by Kate C. Wells, the main character does have an STD, and they do and it was given to her by her partner. And they do talk about it and stuff. And I think it's literally, I think for sure it's the first time I've ever had a main character where it wasn't curable. You know, sometimes you'll have like someone had to have a round of antibiotics after their cheating acts or whatever.
Yeah.
It's never like living with it. It's always a temporary thing.
Completely fixed.
And so I've never had that. And also just, again, like talking about it, like it's still okay to have partners. You just have to be honest. You know, you can't just be sleeping with people without telling them, but that doesn't mean that they can't make decisions for themselves and you can't practice safe sex now. And it definitely doesn't mean that you had a moral failing that this happened to you.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense to us as readers. I don't know sometimes, but yeah.
Right. I'm trying to get this title. All right. Listen, I need more good paranormal books, so we are writing down everything that we can.
I'm over here downloading samples. Just making sure. Is it catching up? Have I got them yet?
Like, oh, I had reading plans for the rest of this month. Oh,
not anymore.
Changed.
I feel like I've seen stuff where there was like a historical plague that wiped out a lot of like shifters, and that's why fated mates are rare and things like that. I feel like I've read this. Couldn't tell you when or what.
But I mean, even that idea that, you know, vampires, it's well, for a lot of the common myths is that that's a virus, so we'll transmit it that way.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's always very interesting when they take the time to build it up.
Yeah, the extra thought matters.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Any author can choose how they set up their world.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you want to have representation for something, then you can put it in there. You don't, and you just have to explain it within the context of the world that you're creating, and then that's part of the world. Like it's, you don't have to defend it. You can just say this is what it is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I love Nalini Singh. I could never get past that hero in the first like couple books in the Angel series, and I literally just bought the book again to try it again. Yes, oh my god, he's such a dick.
Oh, he's the top of the possessive alpha.
Yeah.
He kind of like comes off as like a, you know, a ass, you know, like
he does,
you know, and it's just like,
which
I was thinking about it, and I was like, because when I first started reading those books, I really didn't like the main female character. I was just like, geez, like what is her problem? It was kind of like, go back and you remember, it's kind of like, well, yeah, because he was an asshole, you know.
Yeah.
And the problem is he's an ancient asshole. So I can understand that, because he's been around for a while and he's powerful and no one has ever been able to beat him.
Right.
So you're an asshole too if you're at the top.
That's fair.
Right.
you know. And
I'm
then,
gonna try it again. So
yeah, and then you're like
probably.
going through the series, and you see like, you know, some of them like the angels, they're like crazy, you know,
Yeah.
they're like losing it, you know, they're like losing it or whatever. But it's a very interesting series. But
and it's interesting because some of the younger angels are more likely to acclimate to the younger generations as well.
Mhm.
And so you see the difference in their age, which
Mhm.
like, would I accept Raphael as a hero in any other series?
Right.
Probably not.
Right.
But in this one, it makes, and this is why I say, like, I would, and maybe it's not the best angel series out there, but I understand why he is the way that he is.
Yeah.
I don't have to necessarily like it.
Yeah.
But he's in charge of everyone, and he's got more power than.
And
Well,
he's
I say
like
more
in
power than
charge
God,
of
but
like
that's funny.
he's in charge of like different paranormals too, right? Because he had like
the
different,
vampires,
and the
right?
vampires are created by the angels.
Yeah, he had like vampires, and then you know it was
Which
like one
is
of them was, like snakes or whatever. It's like crazy.
Yeah, and that was the other interesting thing, was that was where their vampire history came from. Like, basically the angels themselves are vampires, but just a different kind.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna give it another try because I love her stuff so much. It's like I gotta push through.
Yeah,
I think with that one, it's a bit like all of those paranormals that came out sort of in the early 2000s. It's just timing and context, and
it's so funny.
Yeah.
Right. He's in charge of America. Right.
Of course.
And then you have like other angels. It's a very good series. Like the more you delve into it, and it's like all these different angels, and they're in charge of different regions.
Yeah.
Like they're all kind of like, all of them are like, I'm sorry, they're all kind of like, excuse my language, a little bit batshit crazy. Like all of them are nuts. You know.
You can say that. Another one that is, I have not read the Guild Hunter series, but one that I think would work for same readership is the Elder Races series by Thea Harrison. The first one is Dragonbound. He's the only dragon shifter, and again, like, he's in charge of everything, and he's really old. He's, you know, really rich, and she has, it's literally her audacity that gains his attention. He's like,
I remember this cover. I remember this cover.
He's like,
it's great.
What? And then of course,
I think I read it because you recommended it to me, Heather.
I think so. I think I read it first because, again, it was like before I started BookTube that I ended up reading it. But and it's one where you know, you're watching their whole inner circle of all these different old immortals finding their fated mates, and it's just fun to watch them all get brought down.
I don't remember how far I got into that series. I got to at least book 2 or 3.
I read through book 5. Yeah,
I showed the first one marked as read on my Goodreads, but I have absolutely no recollection of this book.
She's a thief. She's a thief, and she steals something of his, or breaks in to steal something of his.
Dragon hoard.
From his hoard. And he catches her.
Salubre.
It's also one of those ones where he can do like psychic dreams with her. So they're having like sex dreams before they've even actually officially met, because he like keeps invading her dreams. It's a fun time.
That's the other dreams and nightmare paranormal romances, or the offshoot, sort of moving into sort of monster romance. Like, those are fun.
Yes.
Sing Me to Sleep. I think that's
Sing Me to
called
Sleep.
by Art and Virtues.
Oh yeah,
that was Regine Abel.
That was a wild book. That was good.
Yeah. Sing Me to Sleep is good, and the Mistwalker and the Nightmare by Regine Abel are sort of a duology.
It's interesting.
He has another series, Art and Virtues, the one with the kind of like the Greek.
Yeah, the Greek.
I love those. Those are so good. Yes.
Yeah.
I love those. Again, I read that series before I picked up Katie Roberts, and I just preferred preferred his. I just thought it was much better.
Yeah, his was so much better. Plus, it was just really good. Like, it was like more kind of like a diverse kind of a world.
Yes.
You know?
So yeah, there was a lot more to it.
Mm-hmm. So it was really good.
His books are fantastic.
All right. Do we have anything else that we thought of that we wanted to mention before we bail?
There is the last one that I have is totally different vibes than everything we've mentioned. Fawn Over Me is a paranormal. It's tagged as a monster romance, but it's got a fawn as one of the. There is a lot of discussions of like religious control and trauma, and one of the girls is breaking away. But it was fun. I read it for the Amazing Readathon. It's got the whole premise is cryptids, and so it's worth a shot. It's an indie. B.L. Brown, I think, is the author on that one.
Yeah, yep.
It's sapphic.
Interesting. Carnegie Mellon. Okay, Pittsburgh.
So what? I mean, I know we've talked about a lot of books, but what would be the next book that you really want to pick up and read in the genre?
Oh, man, I have so many.
Oh God.
I'm gonna clear a bunch out like this fall, but right now my surplus of paranormal books on my TBR is a lot.
Mine just exploded.
Yeah. Well, I had 85 sitting on my unread paranormal folder on Kindle, and now I'm about to add more to it.
Mine's not that high.
Oh my God.
I've collected a lot of random free ones over the years, and they're just sitting in there.
That's how I am. It's really bad.
I have one that I do really want to read because I was told it's a prison planet is Draka's Heat by Olivia Riley. It's a alien romance. And I'm hoping I love it.
Can I ask, has anyone read Tiffany Roberts? Do we have thoughts on those?
Have I read
the Spiders?
Oh, I read the first one in the Spider series.
Okay.
It was okay.
It keeps getting suggested to me, and I love spiders, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this.
I think
I don't like spiders, and I survived the book, so
okay.
I've heard about that is that it takes like a couple books for the romance to really get going.
Oh, it's slow. Right on out of that. I need
right. That's why I was not interested.
That's go whoop. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. On the
back burner.
I just looked at some spoiler reviews and was like, all right, this is everything I needed to know.
Yeah, why is your romance taking forever? That's what we're here for, people.
Yeah, exactly. Like that is the whole reason I picked up your book, actually.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
He's like a spider alien.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably.
I'm pretty sure they don't change forms.
Let me turn this brightness
down. My next book is going to be, I think, Nikki Clark. I love Nikki Clark. She does a good array of
I like her too.
Paranormals too, but she has a Shifter series, and the third book is going to be coming out soon. So I'm waiting on that. I hope it's good because I've been doing lately, but
has anyone read How to Fail at Avoiding an Alpha Demon by Lizzie Cooper?
No.
This is on my TBR. It's by a Black author. It's an Omega and a demon? Maybe.
That's interesting.
I have not had great success.
We didn't even touch on Omegaverse.
I have not had great success there. But that's
I have not either. I'm not an Omegaverse person.
I loved the Alpha Hordes series by Milana Jax. I've mentioned this before, but when a couple months after I first got into romance, I thought that alien romance was going to be way too weird for me. especially because I am not like a sci-fi person at all. I don't really care about it in any media. So I was like, that's, not gonna work for me. But I did read Ice Planet Barbarians because it wouldn't stop being recommended on Kindle, and I like fell down a rabbit hole and read a whole bunch of alien romance. Well, like my first week of alien romance, basically, I read this Alpha Horde Milana Jack series. I had never heard of a Megaverse in my life. I did not know that this was a thing, and I'm brand new to alien romance. It's my first week.
Welcome to the genre, Heather.
Reading all these Megaverse aliens and like losing my mind. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean we have fluids all over the nest? What is happening?
Well, they just dove in the deep end. Just
to
right
this
in.
day, that has like my best Megaverse experience was literally what I started with.
Probably because you had no idea that that's what it was.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my god!
I read like 9 in like 3 days or something stupid.
Like, what was all over the desk? Oh my god!
That was the Alpha Horde series. From Milana Jax, but yeah. I will say a good place to try Omegaverse is Catherine Moon's Sweetverse series, Baby in the Late Night Howlers specifically. It is why I choose, so if you don't like multiple guys, then you might not like it. But
I don't mind multiple guys.
It's one where consent is really good, which is not the norm for Omegaverse. I always if you're gonna jump into Omegaverse, it's often very, very, very dark romance, and so jumping in one is not jumping in another.
Yeah, that's why Omegaverse doesn't work for me.
Right, it's a good one for consent and just figuring out what it is, what the Omegaverse is. But also, if you don't like fluids, which I don't like fluids, so there's that. But if you don't like fluids, be aware it's Omegaverse really likes their fluids.
Her vampire series is fairly popular, right? The librarian witches, are they witches?
That's witches, the librarian's coven, which that one is completely polyamorous, though. Everybody's involved with everybody else, so even though it is 3 guys, which is often the setup for why choose, it's polyamory, which I like. And also that's the norm for the world. Again, with like the world building, you can choose to do whatever you want,
right?
Everybody is in a polyamory coven, and it can be any what word do I want? It can be any combination of genders and amounts of people and stuff like that, which I like as well.
That might be next then.
It's a good one. I enjoyed it.
Yes, I would like more of these too.
Dream demons.
I like deity ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that he shifts.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Stony Draven. I have heard of. My best friend loves Stony Draven.
And a scattered body. Oh god.
Listen, Elysius, I was I can't think of the word I want, but what word do I want? Somebody help me.
What?
I'm not traumatized, but I was certainly stunned. I was not prepared for anything that I was reading, but
just thrown in the deep end.
Head first. I'm gonna be honest. I think I might read A Bite Full of Death next.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I've just added.
Today we learned that Frankenstein monsters are a buzzword for me with paranormal. I love the Frankenstein book, like the actual classic. So that I think that's probably gonna be my next one.
I have Desires in His Blood by Zoe Draven on my TBR right now. Years ago, long before she blew up, I read the first of her Horde King series. And that was another one where it was like really slow burn, and the main character was like, my beliefs are better than your beliefs. And I was like, okay, calm down. You're in the society for life now. Maybe try to acclimate. I don't know. But
I also read Whiskey and Sin in June, and it was okay. I still don't think Omega Verse is for me. It's probably my least favorite Emily Rath book to date.
Yeah.
Ooh, now we use this.
Let's see it. All right. Well, we did in fact figure something else to talk about. Leaving. So thank you so much everyone for watching. Obviously, thank you to all of you for doing this discussion with me. I could not have done it by myself. That would have been terrible. So thank you so much for joining. And I think we talked about some fun stuff. It was fun.
Yeah.
Genuinely, if you had asked me if I had done this before, I would have told you yes. And then I looked at my channel and I don't think I did. So I'm not sure what I'm talking about paranormal romance on lives, but apparently I don't have anything labeled that at least. So I don't know, but it was fun. I had a really fun time. So
yeah, thank you for inviting me. This was fun. And I got a lot of recs. So
I got a lot of
recs. Thank you very much.
There go my TBR.
Right.
Gone.
Completely trashed.
There's nothing better. It wasn't even a good time. The TBR didn't grow. I don't think so.
Gonna be cussing and fussing all summer, but I'll be reading these books.
I love it. All right, everyone. Thanks so much again. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.